wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become.
Well, obviously, in vlog 240, I got into an unbelievable game and ran unbelievably well. Amazingly enough, a couple days later, the lineup was just as good, if not better. And I actually said to actually local favorite Dave B that, you know, if I lose in this lineup, I should be banned from the casino. Well, I think you all know how that would end up. I'd play for 6 hours, get dealt the best hand exactly one time during that span, and lose 1,500. So those are the kind of comments you really should never make. I think the game today, though, is going to be pretty good. Oh, let's go find out. It was a week in which we saw another cooler that should have had a Yeti sticker on it at Peppermill. And unfortunately for local legend Mr. Z, he was on the wrong end of it. Sets of 9s, 10s, and jacks, all on the flop. By the way, can you imagine having King Queen in that spot? Anyway, to make an obvious statement, that's either good luck or bad luck, depending on which side you're on. And yes, I actually did encounter both of those license plates this week. Anyway, I would settle into the friendly confines of Table 1, buying into this 0-5-10 winner straddle rock game for $1,500. Like last week, I'd play the game's first hand, picking up pocket 10s, but unlike in that instance, I would lose to Ace-3 on an ace-high board. If I was looking for an indication that this might be a good game early on, there was this hand. It would come when +1 would min-raise to 20. Folds to the cutoff, who 3-bets him to 60. I'm in the big blind and look down at kings. I put in the 4-bet and making it 150 here, kinda hoping that +1 would stick around for the 130 more, because knowing what I know about him, there's always a good chance that he will. And sure enough, he does. Once that happened, there was not a single hand that the cutoff would be folding in this spot, so with 460 in, we're 3 ways to a flop that comes out a disgusting ace, 8 deuce, 2 hearts. I would just check here, as would the player on my left. Cutoff bets $55 here. I obviously don't love this, but I can't fold for that amount. +1 calls as well, so a 625 in the middle. The turn is an offsuit 3. Once again, it gets checked to the cutoff, and once more, he bets tiny, making it 100 into more than 6. He's not the type that bluffs a lot, but he can occasionally play a hand in a bizarre fashion, which led me to, combined with the pot odds, make the call once more. This time +1 folds, so we're heads up to a river with 825 in the pot, and it comes another 3. I check. He checks behind. I show my kings, and he says, yeah, which I thought meant for sure that I had the best hand, up until he tabled ace-10, which was somewhat aggravating. That hand was against the former soccer pro, Brian, who you've seen on this vlog, and the next hand I played was against his dad, Joe. And no matter what I do against Crazy Joe, I can't beat him. I'd actually 3-barrel bluff him, which was not a smart move, and despite him actually being close to, but even a bit weaker than I expected him to be, he would still call my $200 river bet, and all of a sudden, after only playing for about an hour, I was stuck 900 on the day. I'd raise pocket queens under the gun to 35 and get 2 callers, with Joe being one of them on the button. Much like the kings, the queens were ace magnets. With 115 in, it's ace, 8-8, 2 hearts, and I bet 50. MP1 fold, but Joe, on the button, makes the call. And with 215 in, the turn's another ace, which seemed like a pretty decent card for me. And I bet out for 60. But he calls. With 335 in, the river is the 3 of hearts, and I check. He bets 125 here, and I can't even think now of a single hand that I can beat that he would do this with, as he's always checking behind with his low pocket pairs here. So I fold, and once again, the ownage that Joe has over me would only be rivaled by that of Paul Goldschmidt over Tim Lincecum about a decade ago. This is a mid-session update. If I can run in this game today half as good as the Philadelphia Eagles have run over the past couple of weeks, I expect to book a nice win. Are you kidding me with those last 2 games they pulled out? Unbelievable.
I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own.
Somehow I'd get back from that mid-session update, and that damn Bills-Eagles game was being replayed on NFL Network, and I, for one, do not appreciate that. I'd pick up ace-king of spades under the gun and make it 50. Big blind and button are my 2 callers, and with 135 in, the board is jack 7-3, 2 spades. Big blind checks, and with the nut flush draw and 2 overcards, I'm certainly in a good position to build a pot up despite not having a pair. I bet 80. And Joe, because he can read my soul and knew it was coming, mucks his hand. The big blind, though, does check call. So with 295 in, the turn is the 9 of spades, giving me the nut flush. Big blind checks. I bet 130, and sure enough, he makes the call. So with 555 in, the river is either a really good or a really bad card. For me, it pairs the jack. He chucks once again with $280 left. I bet it all. And after only a second of thought, he decides to put those chips into the pot, creating a $1,115 pot, and he shows 1 jack. And the pot gets shipped over to me on a day that had disaster written all over it up until that point. Is that Shingo?
It is.
Is this the man? Every time I see you, I want the song "The Champ Is Here" to start playing.
He's here! The champ is here!
Is that acceptable to you?
I'll take it, but it's only one time. It's only happened once
That's
so far.
one more than me, Shingo.
You missed all the shots you don't take, Ben.
Can you explain what it feels like to win 70 G's in one day?
It's about 70 times better than winning $1,000 in one day.
I then make a $35 raise with ace queen of spades under the gun, getting 3 callers. With 145 in, we get a very interesting flop. King, queen, 9, 2 spades. Pairing the nut flush draw, knowing none of these guys are going to fold any hand better than mine, I would settle on a bet of 75 here. My only caller is the one you can see in my video, MP1. So with 295 in, the turn is an offsuit jack, which is interesting. I bet 85 here, looking to get him to continue on with the hands that I have beat and be able to stand a raise should one come. And sure enough, one does. He makes it 200 more here. Now, I know this player very well, and he's going to be weak a lot of the time here, given the fact that I showed so much weakness betting so small on the turn. It's also just kind of the reality of how he plays. So I'm obviously not going anywhere, and I make this call. And with 865 in, I'd proceed to make what could be a mistake. The river gives me 3 queens, which I immediately felt was not going to change anything. He either already had me beat before that, or was bluffing and was trying to get me to fold here. So when those are the 2 options, you really should check to your opponent and just call whatever they bet. So that's what I do, but unfortunately, he doesn't bet. He snap checks this behind, and I win in a spot where, yes, I was fortunate to hit a queen on the river, but I would have really preferred to hit a spade. They then put $100 in for a splash pot, which happens when you play on Wednesdays at Peppermill. And despite me making 3 aces with a 10 kicker, I was in 3rd place on the river, which was hardly a shock in a hand that resulted in me losing a little over 200. I think I'm something in the vicinity of 1 for 46 lifetime in splash pots. I'm not sure. Next hand folds all the way around to me in the cutoff, and I raised to 30 over a low jack straddle with the most premium of starting holdings. The rock wouldn't complete, but the big blind does. And with 70 in, it comes 10-7-5 with a couple of clubs, and the big blind bets out for 30. With my overpair, I raise him to 105 here, knowing that after he calls my bet, my ability to narrow his range down is still going to be tough. He does call at 275 in. The turn is a 3, and he checks. I bet 200, and after only a small amount of deliberation, he calls. So with 675 in, the river is an offsuit 8, and he checks for a second time. Needing to make sure that he pays off with king 10 or worse in this spot, I just bet out for 250, though I probably could have gone 100 more here. And after he somewhat out loud speculated that he thinks I can have ace-king, he decides to pay off, creating a $1,175 pot. I show my hand, and he mucks. Then, to add on to the title of this vlog, 2 local grinders bump heads in a huge pot, with local favorite Sean V on the right end of a massive cooler against Adam S, taking down a $3,600 pot nut flush over second nut flush. I'd then proceed to lose $200 when my pocket queens couldn't hold up against king 3 suited, which was followed by calling a 3-bet with king queen suited and losing to the same opponent, who had made 3 jacks on a jack-jack deuce flop, but I was unfortunate enough to turn a queen and lost another 100 as a result. The game would then deteriorate in terms of quality, with the players that you'd want in the game leaving, and the players you'd want to leave not going anywhere. From 5 p.m. until 7 p.m., I didn't get dealt the best hand once, and I lose back several hundred more as a result. It was a roller coaster day. Had I left after that pocket aces hand, I'd have booked a small win. But unfortunately for me, that wasn't the case. All right, so wrapping up this session after a miserable last couple of hours. As I mentioned, this is the first night in which I've played poker in a long time where I didn't have any reason why I needed to leave. Don't have my son tonight. Don't have any Golden Knights hockey to watch. Not hanging out with my girlfriend who's at work. So I had no reason to get out of here. But I'm looking around the table and I'm like, well, grinder. Used to be loose, now is tight. Used to be crazy, now is tight. OMC, OWC, Crazy Joe who owns me. This lineup sucks. So rather than just stick around and grind it out in a shitty game, I'm just gonna wrap this day up booking just over a $700 loss. Certainly not what I had in mind when I saw the lineup earlier today, but the good news is the casino's open again tomorrow. All right, just to clear this up, I do believe that there are probably a few hundred of you to whom this vlog was redundant. Because last Monday, I did post a vlog, and after being up for like, I don't know, somewhere less than a half an hour, it was then deleted. And I was told that I am selling regulated goods, and I have violated that policy in the vlog, even indicating that at 8 minutes and 30 seconds in, there was an example of this. Well, guess what? At 8 minutes and 30 seconds in, it was just another hand of poker. And even though I have been known to do this occasionally, on this particular vlog, I did not promote a single thing. So I decided, as you just saw, to rerun the vlog for those who hadn't seen it, which was pretty much everybody. So in case there was any confusion about that, that's what happened. It was an obvious mistake made, not on my part. And I wanted to actually bring that vlog to the channel. So most of you had the chance to watch that for the first time this week. Some of you had already seen it, but you will all get a new vlog coming up next week. Hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we will see you then.